So we're taping with James Alexander this morning, October 16th. And I'd like to begin with some brief information about your background.
Right.
Could you tell us where you went to law school?
I'm so old. When I went to law school, it was the Western Reserve University Law School. It's now Case Western Reserve University. I graduated from there in 1971.
And what do you do? What kind of law do you practice?
At the present, most of the work that I do is in real estate, particularly foreclosure defense work, and I do a lot of probate. But that's the stage. I started out doing a lot of criminal work with the late attorney Stanley Tolliver. And I did an awful lot of Title VII employment law, did that for years. And so I still have civil rights in my inventory of law, but not as much as I used to. And then I went through a phase where I represented contractors and did a lot of housing and development type work. And then I went through a phase where I was a law director. So I served as law director for the city of East Cleveland for several years. And then later I served as law director for the Woodmere Village. It was during that time in my career, in fact, that I used the law library for the first time, most of the time.
And are you a solo practitioner or a member of a law firm?
At present, I am a solo practitioner, but I started and founded the law firm of Alexander, Jackson, and Buchanan. We recently had a reunion just last weekend. Gerald M. Jackson, who probably comes to the library quite a bit, retired Judge A.D. Buchanan. So that was our original law firm. We merged with Hardeman, Pittman, and Howland in 1985 to establish the law firm of Hardeman, Alexander, Buchanan, Pittman, and Howland Company. Mr. Pittman went on to politics. He was the first mayor of East Cleveland. James Hardeman, of course, still practices a lot of civil rights law. We lost Stephen Howland some years ago. But in 1994, 95, about there, I went into lower key practice, and I've been a solo practitioner since.
Okay, and are you going to tell us how long you've been an attorney?
Oh, no problem. I'm old. I started practicing with legal aid in 1971. I was a Reginald Heber Smith Scholar. They assigned me to Huff Area Development Corporation, which was the first community development corporation in the country. We own the first black-owned McDonald's enterprises in the country. We built the first community-based shopping center, enclosed mall at Wade Park and Crawford Road. And other activities. We developed a lot of housing in the Huff area. Most of your housing programs that exist right now modeled after what we did at Huff Area Development Corporation. So that's what I did from 1971 until we started that law firm I mentioned.
And how long have you been a member of the law library?
I joined the first time when I was a law director in East Cleveland, I want to say 1984, 1985. But I had been away from the library for some time until retired Judge Sarah J. Hopper. She said, I'm going to get you a membership in the law library, and that's been 2011 or 12, somewhere around there. And so it's the best value in the world. So I've consistently been a member since that time.
And have you spent a lot of time here?
Oh yeah, a lot of time here. I spend time here doing research, just studying, between courtroom appearances.
Would you say you visit often?
I would say at least, it varies, but it probably averages out to at least once a week. But sometimes I think you all would get tired of memory so much. So yeah, I use the library quite a bit.
And would you say that the library has changed a lot over the years you've used it?
The only change that find significant is the one that's impacted the profession in general. That is, it's gone electronic. And so much of your research now is done with Lexis and Westlaw and Hind and online. But other than that, I mean, what's been consistent, the friendly staff, the competent staff, and the facilities pretty much have been consistent.
And has the Cleveland Law Library helped you with any landmark cases in your career?
One thing about the practice of law that's so great is that for my clients, when we're successful, they're all landmark cases. But I haven't had a lot of cases that I would consider landmark, and the ones that I was involved in would have predated my time. And I was a law student, I worked on a couple cases that went to the United States Supreme Court. Swan versus Mecklenburg County Board of Education and Griggs versus Duke Power Company. I worked on those cases as a law student. I was in North Carolina at that time. In cases of my own or in the employment area, and most of those cases were in the early years of our practice with Alexander Jackson Buchanan, when we had the late Annette Butler versus the Cleveland Municipal Court, that case. Peggy Mogel versus the Cuyahoga County Clerk Courts. And the case we had against the county engineer was Albert Porter at that time. When we were in the early days of the employment discrimination, when we were suing most of the county offices, those cases, we did a lot of research, but we weren't into the library at that time. Most of that was done from the law schools. Other than that, in recent years, if I have had success with a case, it's been involved here in the law library, from research either directly or through utilizing the services of your staff.
Is there anything specific you remember about any of our staff, whether past or present?
Just as I said, they're always competent, they're always friendly, they're always cooperative, helpful. It's astounding, in fact, how consistent that's been over the years, and I very much appreciate it.
Are there any special memories of your time here you'd like to share?
As far as that goes, I would say that the library is such a beautiful, historic, treasured memory generally, that when I have visitors come to town, sometimes that's why you see me bring people through from time to time. So those are special memories. Just being around books, amidst books and resources in this kind of atmosphere is always treasured.
And you mentioned that everyone is working online now. So what do you miss about the way it used to be?
Oh, well, what I miss most is not necessarily the books. It's the camaraderie that we used to have as lawyers. That's what I miss most. It's not just the library. Nowadays, lawyers are so much more abrasive. They're so much more combative, uncivil. And over the years, I found you can be an effective advocate without being abrasive, without being combative. So that's what I miss most about the legal profession. That's not related directly to the library.
And have there been any lessons you've learned throughout the course of your career other than that?
I continue to practice law like I've lived my life. Two creeds, mostly. do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And whatsoever thy hands find to do, do it with all thy might. Those are the two things that I've lived and treasured my life by.
How do you conduct your legal research, and what do you use as your tools?
Well, I still like to use the books because you can actually have your hands on and read. Particularly like proof of facts, books like that are always going to be helpful. Treatises are always going to be helpful. But I do a lot of, you can't avoid it. It's so much easier now to do research online with Nexus, Westlaw, and of course Fastcase, which we use through our membership with the library. And then also, from time to time, we get to use your staff to get research done.
So the services that you prefer, that you've taken advantage of, are those the ones?
Yes, and also include being able to do depositions and conferences here. In my opinion, as I said, it's the best resource in town, and from my observation, probably undervalued and underused, but it's a terrific resource.
And have you attended any of our programs here?
Oh yeah, you all have these CLEs and lectures. So these are ongoing opportunities for members.
And having been in practice so many years, do you use social media, and are you following our social media trends?
Okay, now that I'm behind the time zone. It's not been in my radar to use social media yet. I used the Facebook because it put me back in contact with my high school classmates and my college classmates, and so I've developed a communication network with people that I used to cherish and spend a lot of time with. But other than that, I haven't taken advantage of it. I know Donald Trump has made tweet popular, so I went and looked at it, but that's not for me. I'm thinking about looking at LinkedIn, something or another that professionals use. And maybe you all have a lecture on that or something, but I'm not, I'm not currently social media savvy.
So is there anything that we didn't talk about that you'd like to add?
I would just say that in general, always coming to the library is a special place. It's always been that way for me. But coming to this library with the treasured historic environment, all of the books and resources, and it's always quiet. So it's not just the research; it's being able to contemplate the research, to think, and come to conclusions and strategies. This library helps us, helps me in that regard. So very special.